You Booked It, episode 59. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainment professionals 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to have a successful entertainment career. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainment professionals. We're here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community, where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating, and review. And now, let's do this. All right, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Ashley Fuller. Ashley, are you ready for this?
I am so ready. Let's do it.
All right. At age 14, Ashley had the honor of singing at Carnegie Hall with the acclaimed choir Allegro. That performance has been her driving force, having an extensive background in musical theater, playing such roles as Fantine in Les Mis, Gloria in Damn Yankees, V in Footloose, and Adelaide in Guys and Dolls, to name a few, truly instilled in Ashley the foundation of showmanship, work ethic, and dedication. Currently, you can catch Ashley's band performing every Tuesday night at the Tuscany, Las Vegas. Prior to COVID, Ashley was cast in Spiegelworld's Opium at the Cosmopolitan Vegas, as well as Brunch to Broadway, singing alongside Tony nominees Bob Torti, Dealey DeLively Torti, and Broadway veteran Eric Jordan Young. Ashley recently also had the privilege of opening up for Celine Dion. Currently, she is one of the co-owners and producers of the Amelia Earhart estate and is currently in works with Amelia, a musical detailing the life and works of Amelia Earhart. Ashley, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps, who you are, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your wonderful intro, Dane. I am a born and raised Southern California native. I lived there my first 18 years of life, and I started out in choir. That was my background. And I sang in choir for probably too long. I sang every part from bass because the boys' voices couldn't hit like the baritone and bass notes to soprano. And I did show choir, and then I started getting into summer conservatory musical theater work in high school. And that's kind of where I really felt like, this is really fun, and I want to do more with this musical theater thing. So throughout high school, I did summer conservatory in the summers, and during the school years, I was in choir and doing musicals. And then I went to New York City. I auditioned for AMDA New York, American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And I went there for about a year and a half, graduated, auditioned out in New York for a while. My mom had some health problems, and also I was like, I can't afford here. This New York is crazy. So I went back home to Southern California, and I started doing band work and working with cover bands in LA. And then that led me to Ships, where I met my current husband. And us having a child brought us to Las Vegas because my mom lived out here at the time. And then the rest is kind of history. That's where we stopped. I live in Las Vegas now. I've worked out here for the last 5 years, and we've got 2 kids together. My husband, Aaron, is a guitar player, professional guitar player, arranger, composer, great guy. And we have 2 beautiful little girls, and I live out here and I love it in Las Vegas.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, let's move on to this next section here. And Ashley, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What's your favorite quote you'd like to share with our listeners?
I really was thinking about this one, and it's actually not a quote that I can quote from anybody in particular, but just something that I try to tell myself and live by all the time. And it's only you can define your value. And it's something that I feel like I've learned thus far in my life, but I also like to try to think that, especially in our world of performing and auditions and, coaches, classes, a lot of times when we are under scrutiny or criticism, it's easy for us to allow someone else to have the power to almost devalue us. And I try to always remind myself of this, that I'm the one that gets to define my value, not anyone else externally from me. It's me. So yeah, that's something, a quote that I usually tell myself all the time.
I love that, and you're so right that we put too much importance on how other people perceive us, more so I think than pretty much any other regular job or muggle out there, right? We as a entertainer and a performer, we put ourselves into these rooms and give so much of ourselves, give so much vulnerability, and it's difficult to do that in of itself. But then oftentimes we're not really helping ourselves by giving people more power over whether or not we book that gig or not, or what they even think of us, because really that's quite irrelevant. We're there to be us and do us. And if they like it, great. If they don't, it's time to move on, right?
Exactly. Exactly. 100%.
Beautiful. Well, let's move on to this next section. And Ashley, of course, you are an entertainer. I am an entertainer, and I think that you'd agree. This industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and to have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, of course, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement being on stage, being an entertainer, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Well, I love that question. And you're so right about this industry and how brutal it can be. So I would say the biggest challenge, and I don't view this as a challenge anymore, but the biggest challenge that I had to work through for myself in this business was my height. I'm 5'11" and a half. I'm basically 6 feet tall. But of course, on resumes, I'm like, I'm 5'11". That one
Yep,
inch really
I'm
does
not
it.
there.
But that was something that I immediately would be a yes or no, generally no for most parts, because it's hard finding a leading man that is taller, or just even ensemble can't be shorter than, my part that I'd be playing. So that was a challenge for me, and something to overcome, because I looked at it as something that would hinder me, when really, and I think this is true for all of us, the thing that makes us different, that makes us unique, is the thing that you need to embrace the most, because it's what makes you who you are. And we're all so amazingly unique and different. And I think the more you embrace something that truly does make you stand out in a different way, I swear the instant that I did that, I found so much more success, and I was able to perform differently and work differently. And I'm grateful for the process, because I wouldn't be here today unless I actually had that moment of just telling myself, this is what makes me me, and I'm going to run with it and use it to my benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That is such amazing perspective and insight on an entire career and how we should view ourselves in this industry. Because you're right, everyone has something unique, and to embrace all of that uniqueness, because that's what people are looking for in those rooms most of the time.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
So that moment for me was it was my senior year in high school, and I did summer conservatory at the college in the town I lived in every summer. And the summer conservatory that we did would put on a production every summer. And this summer it was Les Mis, and I was so excited about the show, and I really truly wanted to be Fantine. I wanted to play her so bad. I got the part of Fantine, and during my performance in that show, there was a moment where I, of course, was in the moment, of acting and performing and being present. But I think every performer has that moment where you look out into the audience and you see and feel this amazing energy, but stillness. And you have the audience in your hand, like they're in the palm of your hand, and they're watching your every move and listening to your every note. And that moment is so powerful. And I just remember that, first of all, I was just so excited that I was playing this part. It was a dream role for me. And secondly, that we have something, we have this amazing, I don't want to say burden because it's not a burden, but this amazing job as performers to handle that part, that feeling, that power of having the audience, in the palm of your hand, to really treat it, I guess, just be grateful for that moment and take care of it, because it's just such a special moment when you can be aware of that and be grateful for it and take care of the audience as a performer. And it was one of the most powerful moments, I think, in even to this day in my singing career, of feeling that. And I was 18 years old.
That's amazing. That's amazing to experience that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
you're right. It is something so special, so precious. And it's something that doesn't happen all the time. And
No, it
it
doesn't.
always comes up in the most odd times, and it surprises you every time. But it's so great. I
It
love
is.
that.
It
Well,
is.
let's piggyback on that question, and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the audition and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Well, yeah, this is still relating to that same show, which is crazy because I've done really great, amazing things that I'm super proud of. But this still stands out to me because I was auditioning against actors and very talented, experienced performers who were, 10, 15, 20 years older than I was.
Mm,
And at the time, of course, I was 18 years old, but I truly was like, I believe that I am meant to play this part. And everything in my body says, I need this part. I need this part. So I literally would just eat, sleep, and breathe the old school CD of Les Mis, where it's like the
yeah.
4 discs. And I just really remember truly believing that I was going to get that part. And so the audition came, and we sang, and the callbacks were exactly the same day, and we had to wait until the entire day was done of summer conservatory. And then they finally announced the roles at the end in front of everybody, and I felt like I won the lottery. Like, they said my name, and I was like, who, me? Oh my God. I just felt so cheesy, but I was so excited and proud of myself because I put in the work and I believed in myself, and I wanted it. I wanted it so bad because I knew I deserved it. And that was, I think, one of my biggest booked it moments in my life so far.
I love that. And I love that you just said, I put in the work. Because
Yes.
what we do to the layman watching us on stage just looks like people are having fun on stage and prancing around and singing some songs. And to be fair, there is a very real aspect to that because it is fun. We are lucky and fortunate that we get to do things that we're passionate about and really properly love doing them and enjoy them. So it's not a fallacy to see people enjoying themselves on stage or just acting to look like they're having fun. I mean, sure, there are those times when you're sick and you don't feel good and
Right.
you really are putting on the face, but the majority of the time you are really loving and relishing those moments, but you don't get to experience them unless you put in the work. It is
Yes.
hard work to do this professionally and to be on that stage, and it takes a lot. And you have to know that you got to put in the work. But the payoff is amazing.
Yes, it is. It really is. It's worth all of those hours and the doubt and the talking yourself back up again and berating yourself back down again. It's worth it all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's take a moment to talk about the present.
Yes.
What projects are you working on now? What are you currently looking forward to? And of course, it's a weird time. We're amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yes. So currently, I'm working on a project I'm really excited about, and it's with my husband, Aaron Fuller, and myself, and also our business partner, Tegan Summer, who wrote Marilyn and produced and wrote Betty Page. He's got a musical about Betty Page. He's got all kinds of musicals. He's a playwright, songwriter, everything. But we are taking on this new venture. We are currently the estate owners of the Amelia Earhart estate, and the three of us are putting a musical together about Amelia Earhart's life. And Aaron is the composer and musical director. Tegan is writing the show. I will be in the show, as well as actually Ruby, who was on your show. I was listening to a little bit of hers. We have her
Yeah.
on board with our team as well.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
yeah, but it's a new venture that we're all really excited about, because we're at a time where I think women, especially, it's it's a celebration of this amazing, powerful figure, this everyday hero that ends in such mystery. And it's just exciting to be part of the creative team of, my husband and I doing music and collaborating with Tegan. And it's really exciting. We're in the middle of it right now, creative wise, but hopefully in the next year and a half to 2 years, we should see things up and coming. All things considered with COVID and whatnot, but
Yeah, of course,
hopefully,
there is
fingers
that.
crossed. But yeah, so that's our biggest new project. And then of course I sing every Tuesday with my band over at the Tuscany, and still keeping the live music alive. And as far as where I feel like the entertainment industry is moving forward, of course, like everyone else, it seems really uncertain right now. I do feel like eventually things will kind of taper back in. But I also have this strong feeling that technology, as it's advancing, I think a lot of us are going to be out of work a lot more, because unfortunately, it just seems like live entertainment is not such a glorified thing as much anymore, unless it's like the big names coming in, like Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett and things like that. I guess, and that might be a grim way of looking at it, but I feel like it's getting phased out a little bit more and more. I'm starting to see it happening more and more.
I definitely see that. I'm hoping that, like you said, you've got your band playing every Tuesday at the Tuscany, and I'm hoping that more of the smaller things start coming back. And I think there's a massive market for that. And it's the way a lot of venues used to be. You used to have your lounge acts and your lounge bands. I mean, Frank Sinatra used to sing in lounge bands. That's the way it
Right.
was. And
Exactly.
maybe there'll be some movement towards that, because if you think about it, you can quite easily social distance in a lounge with people
Yes.
enjoying cocktails and having some dinner and having a show at the same time. Sure, it's not a 5,000 person theater, but
Right.
I think people still want to be entertained. And I don't know, it's a conundrum of this question, because we obviously don't know what's going to happen, but I love
Right.
the question because it inspires so much different creative thought on this entire subject.
Yeah. Well, I truly hope that that's the case, because, like you said, that is kind of what Vegas was founded on, was the lounge acts were, smoking a cigarette by the piano and singing and entertaining people. So I truly hope that that is the case, and that kind of opens back up again for everyone.
Yeah, well, let's see. All right, well, let's move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I
Ooh.
am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
I think so. I'm
Okay,
ready.
first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Financial stability.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Not everyone will like you, and that's okay.
Brilliant advice. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or, if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Being true to myself and not trying to be like anybody else.
I love that. And that answer has been coming up a couple of times throughout this interview process that I've been doing. And I think where we struggle with that is that when we are first learning how to sing and dance or develop our craft, develop who we are as artists, we look to what people have already done. And
Yes.
we start off emulating. I mean, look at our children, and they
Hmm.
grow up and all they do is emulate older people, right? And their
Right.
peers. So it's very natural, but it's so important to transition. Like once you've got that foundation, discover who you are
Hmm.
and discover what makes you unique, like you had mentioned in the beginning of this interview. And I love that you bring that up because it's so important.
It is. And I think that a lot of us, like you said, with schooling, with training, we're told to sing, it's like the curriculum is the same. It's like sing like this and do your arpeggios and sing like a soprano, even though you're probably never going to use that because, music is not going to be classical when you're out auditioning. But I think that it's just so important to get to know yourself, like get to know your voice, get to know how you move and just get to know every part of yourself because that is how you will be a better performer and that's how you're going to be more authentic. People are going to want to watch you more because you have this sense of self and you know your weaknesses, your strengths, and you know how to use them. And I just think that it's really important sometimes to just sit in a room and not have anything going on. And for me, what I would do is I would use my voice in so many different ways to get to know my voice so I could figure out how am I going to make this make money and how am I going to make this be an instrument that I can use until I die and not hurt my voice and not lose it, Things like
Yeah,
that I think are really important for performers to do. Get to know yourself as intimately as you can as a performer.
absolutely. And the next question, what is the best resource, whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, podcast, maybe a piece of technology you found is helping your career right now?
I would say it was my director throughout all of my summer conservatory. His name's Douglas Austin, and he instilled in me professionalism, the no BS, you're when you're on time, you're late, when you're early, you're on time. Always have a pencil, always have an eraser. He really instilled in me the professional that I am and that I always want to be and strive to be. And it has helped me so much throughout my career and life.
Brilliant. And that's all very good advice. And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I would definitely, if I would focus a lot more on the business side of what we do and marketing because I think especially now it's so important. It's more important honestly than our skills and our abilities and how great we can act a scene or dance. I feel like it is the most important thing and it's been proven and we see people that are very successful who might not be as talented as the next person. Or so I think that yeah, I would definitely focus more on the business side of it, on the marketing side of things. In school we are just taught to sing a certain way and this is how you belt, here's how you do this, here's how you do a pirouette. But I think that that is something that is so important in what we do, is how we market ourselves and how we really sell ourselves.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. The marketing side of things is so important. And you're right, it is a newer revelation in this industry. Now, the marketing of yourself or an artist has always been around, but traditionally you had your agent or your manager to kind of take care of that for you. Now with social
Right.
media, it's on you. And
Yes.
it's so important. I mean, you've got to think of Instagram as your running resume. You have to constantly be showing the world what you're doing, what you're up to, because there's so much noise out there now with everything outside of the entertainment world, inside the entertainment world. People can't know who you are and what you do unless they can discover you and find you. It's so
Right.
difficult now to break through that noise. And it's not just necessarily about getting yourself discovered and known. There's a very, very real, if not more important aspect of the marketing, that it's what can you provide the people casting you and hiring you? What leverage can they
Exactly.
gain from you? They want to get to your audience, to the people that you have that intimate connection with, because at the end of the day, they're just a company writing checks and creating a show. They need other people to know about it so they can buy the tickets and come see it. So you're right. Marketing is so, so, so important. Having that website, having your social media all together and in order is so important these days.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah, even though many of us hate it, that's totally fine. The point is, it's the reality.
I
Jump on
know.
board, baby.
Right? I want to
That's
go back
it.
in the day where, I would call up the record place and be like, I need your address. I'm sending in a recording of myself to be famous. That's what I want to go back to those days, Dane. Not
Yep, that
these.
ship has sailed.
Dang it.
All right, and the last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you have learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Okay, so this one is hard for me to just list one. But I'm going to say them all, and
That's totally
I'll
fine.
be short. First one we already talked about was put in the work, like put in the work and learn your craft and everything about it and submerge yourself in it. Do it for all the right reasons. I cannot tell you how many times I will go to a show or anything. I will see and hear a beautiful singer or a performer, and they are singing all the right notes. They are looking beautiful, but they are clearly not doing this out of passion and joy. It is more of a grandstand thing. And I cannot tell you how it makes me feel gross inside and makes me not want to watch that person. I think it's so important to be in this and go after it because you love it and everything in your body and soul is saying this is what you were born to do. If that's not the case, then you know what? If you just want some, an easy paycheck, then go for it. But if you're in this for the long term, you have to love it. You have to love it so much.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And to wrap up this interview, Ashley, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
I would. So the Tuscany is a casino out here in Las Vegas. It's right off of the strip on Flamingo, and it's a gem of a place in Las Vegas. And my band and we perform there every Tuesday night from 7:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. It's free. It's safe, socially distanced. It's such a great place. It's a room that really listens and appreciates music and talent, and it's just a fun place to go out and sing and listen to music. That's what I'm doing every Tuesday night. And then also, I do have a song that I wrote. Let's see, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. It's on Apple, it's on iTunes, and it's also, you can just listen to it on YouTube because the reason I wrote the song was for a child of mine. And it's really about raising awareness about child loss, stillbirth, miscarriage, things for women who have experienced that. And it's called A New Kind of Christmas. So if you know anybody that's struggling with or has experienced child loss, miscarriage, stillbirth, or even just any type of loss of a child, just send them over to listen to the song because I think it will really be healing and helpful.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I will absolutely make sure that everything that you just mentioned is in the description of this episode. And also, can we connect with you on social media?
Yes, you can. I'm on Facebook, of course, and I'm the only Ashley Fuller in Las Vegas. So you'll find me really quick on there. And on Instagram, I am at Ashley Fuller LV.
Perfect. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today on the interview. It has been So great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for doing this for all of us performers so we can listen and share in each other's stories. I think it's such a great thing you're doing, Dane.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.